Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, we have discussed two of the noble truths out of the four that the Buddha discovered at his awakening or enlightenment, namely dukkha or suffering and samudaya or its cause. Those are the two we have done. Today we will discuss or see the other two, namely cessation or getting rid of suffering, and magga, the way or the noble eightfold path. The third noble truth, that is suffering, that is cessation or getting rid of suffering, is directly connected to the first and second truths. That is because there is dukkha and there is a cause to have dukkha. Naturally, we want to see if there is a cessation or getting rid of it. So the third truth is that the Buddha did not leave it and just say there is dukkha in this world, there is a cause for it, and he stopped. No. He said there is a way of getting rid of it. So today we'll see that one. That is the third truth. So when there is suffering or dukkha and one becomes aware of it and the cause of it, one would naturally want to get rid of it, for it is not something one wants, as all beings wish to be happy. Nobody wants to be sad or suffering even for one moment. The Buddha's teaching is aimed at developing the reflective mind so that we could abandon the delusions that are rooted in the mind. So we could ask ourselves, why do we suffer? Why is everything changing all the time? This kind of investigation brings to light the other two characteristics, greed and hatred, that are fed by ignorance or delusion. So, because of our delusion or ignorance, we crave or we get angry or we have hatred towards somebody. It is due to ignorance. And why is there ignorance? Because of our underlying tendencies. That's not the only cause, but that is one cause. This for this reflection and investigation to produce positive results, one must have an open mind that is receptive to the teaching. Because if you are not familiar with the teaching, you will not understand what is being said. People rarely realize non-suffering. People don't realize non-suffering. They only realize suffering. Because they do not look at their own reactions to people, situations, happenings, their feelings and emotions. Now, all these things that I just now said happen to all of us. But it is the way we react to them that creates the dukkha or equanimity. You see? So, if you want to have equanimity or neutrality or no dukkha, non-suffering, then it's much better not to react to things as soon as they happen. When you observe your experience, you will see that always there is a feeling tone. You know, it comes automatically, a feeling tone attached to the experience. Whether you meet a person or situation or whatever, there is a feeling tone that comes automatically. As soon as something comes to one of the senses, the feeling also comes. That is a pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral tone. This is what triggers the craving and the clinging. The craving comes after the feeling. It could be an attachment to the pleasant feeling. Similarly, a rejection to the unpleasant. So, whether it's a rejection or an attachment, both means craving. There is craving. Craving to get rid of it or craving to possess it. Either way, it will be glued to the mind, creating dukkha. So whether it's a good one or a bad one, or whether you like it or dislike it, the feeling plus the craving will be in our minds. It could be an attachment, yes, or a rejection. But if one is mindful of that feeling tone without entertaining it, without taking it for, as you want it, as if you want it or discard it, it is possible to break the chain of suffering. That is where we break the chain. One cannot stop the feeling from arising. Naturally, we are all unenlightened, so feeling comes as soon as a sense object comes in front of the sense. A feeling comes. But one could try to prevent any reaction by not clinging. This is an equanimous way of not grasping the desirable or pushing away the undesirable. Wisely being attentive to situations and observing things mindfully, one could stop the suffering and keep the mind steady and happy. But if unmindfully one gets attached or repulsed, even later, when mindfulness returns, one could ask oneself, do you feel happy or liberated by being attached to desire? Is it uplifting or depressing? You ask yourself these questions. Then one may realize that unnecessarily, by being reactive, one has caused suffering to arise. That's how suffering arises. Every being wants to be happy and not to suffer. But because we look for happiness in a wrong way, we end up with dukkha. Desire is the fuel that keeps the wheel of samsara rolling, but the driving force is ignorance, which is due to our sense of self, I, or mind. In this connection, we could recall a verse by Shantideva. Now, Shantideva is a philosopher who lived long, long ago in India. All the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others, while all the misery the world contains has come from wanting pleasure for oneself alone. According to Buddha, people's belief in a self entity is given up only with the attainment of Nibbana. You know, we say that at Sotapanna level, that idea, there is a certain change in the mind about self, but it does not go entirely. So, the I is also there still, even after Sotapanna. This is achieved by the Noble Eightfold Path. The achievement of Nibbana is through the Eightfold Path, but practiced with Nibbana as the goal. When when we come to the next one, we will see that there are two kinds of or two ways of approaching the Noble Eightfold Path. So, when you approach it with the goal as Nibbana, then we can get rid of this self. So, it's called the supramundane Nibbanic experience. When you attain Nibbana, or when you are going in that direction, the Buddha speaks about the light of an oil lamp. You know that at that time they didn't have electricity. So they used oil, generated by oil and a wick. When the oil or fuel is used up, if new fuel is not added to it, it will go out. Similarly, a creeper that has entwined a tree and has covered all the branches, if uprooted, will wither away and die, because the nutriment from the soil is no longer available, and the grasping, clinging, and reaching out to all the branches of the tree will be over. You would have seen creepers like this, even sometimes in your garden. With human life also, grasping, clinging, a wish to live, reproduce itself, causes the energy to continue existence. That is how we go from one birth to another. This energy can be a great force that could be used to make our lives better in this world and ultimately gain liberation. The Buddha further says that everything is burning with the fires of raga, greed. Raga is greed. Dosa, aversion, and moha, delusion or ignorance. When these fires are extinguished totally, you see, totally, they are termed cool or siti bhuta or pacified nibbutta. When the fire of raga is gone, that is when greed is gone, wholesome qualities like charity, you see, generosity, open-mindedness, and renunciation will develop. Renunciation here does not mean getting into a robe and going into the forest. It means giving up our defilements like anger, jealousy, pride, conceit, all these bad things that we are having, giving them up is renunciation. That is the way to Nibbana. When aversion is not present, friendly feelings, loving kindness and goodwill will be present. When delusion is absent, abhinya or higher knowledge and wisdom, panya, will be present. So can you see the three things, when we get rid of them, there are different results. As these limiting factors are absent, Nibbana or the limitless factor is called Appamana will be present. The absence of these unwholesome factors will result in the highest happiness. That is the highest happiness that we could achieve in this world itself. Don't think that we have to die and go into another world. In the Nibbanic experience, the knowledge of things as they actually are means fully understanding. This word fully is very important there. Not just, having a superficial understanding of dukkha, but fully understanding the five aggregates. That is, becoming aware of the reality beyond what is perceived by the six senses. Now, when we see things or when we hear, taste and touch and so on with the senses, we get a certain idea, but that is not the truth. The truth is beyond that. So, when we are able to get that, what is beyond these senses, then we will get a full understanding of the five aggregates. When one attains Nibbana, the nature of reality does not change. Impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and dukkha, and all these other things that are there in samsara, in our living experience, they don't change. They are there. But what happens? Our perception of reality or the wrong interpretations that we give to the world and our clinging and grasping changes. Transcending the world means, like the Buddha and the Arahants, using the five aggregates without attachment. Now, when Buddha lived for 45 years after enlightenment, he did not give up the body. He was there in person, but he was not attached to anything. That is why he could smile like that, now when you see the Buddha statue, you will see the smile. In every Buddha statue, you will find the smile. See, so Buddha was like that, smiling all the time. Why? Because he had no attachment to anything. So the Buddha says, the lotus is born in water, grows in water, rises above the water, and stands unspoiled and untouched. Similarly, the practitioner stands apart from the world. So you see, if we are practicing properly, we will be in the world, all right, but we will not be attached. That's what it means, like the lotus. Negative words such as not born, not become, not made, or not constructed are used to explain the Nibbanic experience, while born, become, made, and constructed are used to explain the sansaric experience. The life experience that we have is due to causes and conditions, but the Nibbanic experience is unconditioned, not due to any conditions. The negative expressions are used because Nibbana is the only unconstructed state, while all else is due to causes and conditions. So now that is, I am doing this because with quite, not in detail, but briefly. So we'll go to the next noble truth, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the fourth noble truth. Here, the 8 factors, I know that you know them, but still I will tell them, are Samma Ditti, right view, Samma Sankappa, right intention, Samma Vacha, right speech, Samma Kammanta, right action, Samma Ajiva, right livelihood, Samma Vayama, right effort, Samma Sati, right mindfulness, Samma Samadhi, right concentration. These are the 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now these 8 fall into 3 categories. Namely, if I tell you in Pali, it will be Sila, Samadhi and Panya. That is morality or Sila, concentration or Samadhi, wisdom or Panya. Sila, Samadhi and Panya. Now, everyone who practices properly will need a moral background. Now, don't think that if we have done some wrong things in life, that we cannot practice. It's not like that. Now, Angulimala, was a serial killer, but he became an arahant. So therefore, what is needed is to stop entirely whatever wrong we have done. Don't regret, don't think about them, but try to go forward from there. So therefore, now morality is something that is important when we start practicing. So speech, action and livelihood form the morality group. So we take it first. The first step in spiritual development is moral discipline. Skillful speech is abstaining from untruth, malicious talk, harsh language, and useless speech. The Buddha always knew when to speak, using only the truth, beneficial to the listeners, at the correct time and place, for he was deeply compassionate. Since speech is a powerful weapon, the Buddha said it can be used for good or ill. And he compared it to an axe. At that time, the axe was one of the weapons that they had. Even today, you use axes, right? Now, this is how he said. Every person who is born with an axe in his mouth. A fool who uses abusive language cuts himself and others with that axe. Now, we could actually add all the other unskillful forms of speech here too. You see? So, we face even unpleasant situations in life. All of us do. If someone speaks in an irritating way, nagging and gossiping about one of your friends, for instance, it's the best to stop talking and remind yourself not to be reactive, not to say anything. Then the speaker will stop the irritating conversation. The test of skillful speech is to ask yourself before speaking, mind you, is this the truth? Is it kind to say this? Is it beneficial for me and others? Will it hurt anyone? Is this the right time to say it? Mindfulness will strengthen this intention. To practice right action, now we come to the next one, that is action. The 5 precepts of not killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and misuse of alcohol and drugs take first place. The Buddha says that as all living beings fear violence and death, comparing oneself to others, one should not hurt or cause another to be harmed. Now, the opposite of these wrong actions is right action that benefits everybody. In my experience, I can recall many instances of persons, especially young people and groups of people who have helped our vihara by cutting the grass or cleaning the compound or the inside of the vihara, planting various bushes, etc., flowering bushes or other kinds of bushes, giving rides to the monastics, to hospitals or airports, etc., bringing food, etc., many other acts of kindness. So this is something that I always think about and give blessings and merits to these people. As with the other 2 truths, right livelihood too needs purity in our conduct, whether at home or at work. An important reflection is not to let our job interfere with our spiritual life and we do not harm others. Now, trade in arms, animals for slaughter, slavery, intoxicants and drugs are unskillful means of earning. If in a law firm, attorneys are pressured to destroy evidence, deceive juries, one's honesty is broken. When for experiments, mice and caterpillars have to be killed, a student may have to break the first precept. The Buddha strongly advises monastics not to resort to scheming, talking, hinting, belittling, and pursuing gain to earn one's living, which means a transgression of the precept of right livelihood. Now we come to the concentration group. Now, there are 3 factors in this group. This is the group that is called samadhi. Right effort is the first one, is the first here. And it has to be intentionally developed. Right effort will not just come. If you, in the morning, if you think, oh, it's too cold to get up, and then don't get up in the morning, then your whole day will be wasted. So, the Buddha advises to let go of the unwholesome and cultivate the wholesome, moment by moment, until all the unwholesome elements like jealousy, greed, and aversion are entirely swept away from the mind, to be replaced by loving kindness, compassion, and generosity. See how just saying these words make you feel so happy, doesn't it? So, effort is needed to maintain whatever good states that have already arisen. Now, if you have, you must be having some of these good states. So, but you have to maintain them, don't let them slacken. The next factor is mindfulness. That is awareness. Complete awareness of the body, feelings, activities of the mind, and the mental objects as they arise brings about powerful results. This is in the Satipatthana Sutta. This brings about keen observation, calmness, not talking or acting hastily or unthinkingly, so that every minute activity is seen. If we are mindful, we will see everything. But otherwise, we will just gloss over some certain things and we will not see them. The next factor is concentration, which is brought about by the penetrative actions of the previous factors. This is achieved by meditation, leading to panya or wisdom. The group known as wisdom or panya has two factors. Now we come to the wisdom factor, or the first two factors given in the Noble Eightfold Path, right? We started with the middle three, then we went to the last three. Now we come to the first two that are there. What are they? Right view and right intention. The Buddha says right view is twofold. Now I'm going to read out an excerpt from the Buddha's sermon, right? So the Buddha says there is right view that is affected by tense, partaking of merit, ripening in acquisitions, and there is right view that is noble, taintless, supramundane, a factor of the path. Can you see two kinds of right view? Now, in the first one that the Buddha talks about, there is the word tains. I'm sure you know them. Tains are asavas, the underlying tendencies called kamasava, bhavasava, ditthasava, and avijjasava, right? Kamasava means sensual desire. Bhavasava means the wanting to go on and on in samsara, the existence, right? Wanting more and more, again and again. That is bhavasava. Then avijjasava is ignorance. And ditthasava means the adherence to views, right? You think this is right and nothing else is right. My idea is the best one, the most right one, right? So anyway, now that is what it means by taints. So then Buddha continues. Under the first one, that is the mundane right view, the Buddha says, there is what is given, what is offered, what is sacrificed. There is fruit and result of good and bad actions. There is this world and the other world. There is mother and father. There are beings who are born spontaneously. There are in the world good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins. Now, this is right view affected by the tails, which is for the unenlightened. So it is for us, right? What Buddha has just now said. You can see that it shows how to gain merit, because we need merit. If we have not got enlightened, we go on in samsara. So we need merit to have a good existence, not to go into a woeful birth. By being generous, sharing your wealth, donating to the needy, sick, or ascetics, sacrificing your time and energy, letting go of greed, hatred, you acquire merit. Understanding that there is a result of the actions, one feels responsible for them and would try to keep the wholesome and discard the unwholesome. This means karma is a viable factor. So can you see, Buddha has talked about the underlying tendencies, then now he talks about karma, that there is karma. There is something called karma. According to one's actions, one would reap the results of the action in the present or the next or in a future life. So there will be a rebirth. Now Buddha talks about rebirth. So you can see that Buddha does talk about karma and rebirth. Buddha is highlighting the special relationship that all of us have towards our mother and father, which is also karmic. We have come together because of our karma. And reminding us of the great debt that we owe to them for giving us birth, providing them with the necessities, and if they are not in the Dhamma, by providing them the means of connecting to the Dhamma is a way of repaying for all that they have done for us. This is the mundane right view. Supramundane right view is the cultivation of wisdom, the enlightenment factors, and the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths with a view to gaining liberation. Right intention, now that is right view. Now we come to right intention, the last one. Right intention is necessary to follow the path, for the mind has to decide that it is essential for our well-being here as well as for our future, life. Right intention is of three kinds. First, renunciation. Now don't think you have to put on a robe. Recluses, ascetics, summoners leave home. Some live in forests, depend on the lay community for their needs, and live a celibate life, having given up all attachments. How do lay people whose worldly life is full of attachments, acquisitions, etc., practice renunciation? First, they must see for themselves whatever faults they have, such as any addictions or anger, envy, lust, greed, etc. Suppose one is addicted to buying and acquiring and hoarding. Now there are some who are addicted to drink and smoking and things like that. But now there are some who like to buy things, just go and buy. If it's a commodity that's scarce, especially now these days, then it's good to see that many people will be deprived of their need and out of compassion give up the longing to buy more and more. Then the second one is aversion. The one who holds on to angry thoughts is suffering more than his or her enemy. And if one is in the Dhamma, it's possible to abandon those thoughts by thinking of impermanence, non-self, death, consequences, etc. How much more profitable to have compassion and friendliness? The burden will be removed and she or he will actually feel that lightness in the mind when it's, given up, letting go of it. Then the third one is free from cruelty. Thoughts of benevolence, love, kindness are not only moral but beneficial to the holder also. All socially harmful actions that lead to conflict, violence, and oppression can be due to our ill intentions. Actions are demonstrations of our thoughts, motivated by passion, aversion, and delusion. I'm not going to say it, but the first two verses of the Dhammapada deal with this idea. So we have briefly looked at the Four Noble Truths. And I advise you to read the suttas to get a more wider knowledge of the Dhamma. Thank you. So you can ask me questions if you have any. Yes, it looks as if there are no questions. So I thought I will go to maybe the meditation, perhaps, if there are no questions.
Okay, let me ask a question. This is Upu.
Yes, please.
So right before I joined you, I was on a website to buy something for my nephew in Canada. So, I understand what you're talking about, and hoarding and buying for pleasure, right? And collecting things. I like buying, and I like colorful things, so I buy. I buy flowers all the time. And how do you kind of reduce that current? How do you work towards reducing the current of collecting things and acquiring things?
Yes. Okay. Now, first of all, I must tell you that nobody else can do it for you. It's you yourself. You have to think and then, reduce the wanting, the wishing, the longing. That's another thing. The other thing is that whatever things that you may buy, they are all impermanent, aren't they? So now there may be certain things now like flowers. Definitely they wilt and they die in maybe 1 week or so. But that doesn't mean that we should not have flowers. Now you can see that we have at the altar, there are flowers. Now that is offered to the Buddha. The third thing that I like to mention is when you do something, when you buy something, or you see that it is useful. See that it gives you pleasure. Yes, true. That is why you buy it. But at the same time, how are you going to use it? And how long are you going to use it? So in that way, you can think for yourself. It is the intention that always takes you forward to do something. So it is by looking at the intention and then, giving it a wise sort of covering to it, like, think about it wisely, about the action that you are going to do. Then it will be possible to reduce the wanting. Okay?
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, then shall we start on our meditation? Even afterwards, after the meditation, because it won't take a long time, you could ask if you have any more questions, right? So I thought that I would like to do the same meditation that I did last time, because this is part of the same sutta, the Sacca Vibhanga Sutta. And there, if you all are interested, I want to tell you that there is another sutta that is equally good to help you with this same topic. The Chattarisaka Sutta, number 117. It's called the Great 40 in the Majjhima Nikaya. That's also about the Noble Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. And also, there is a full section in the Samyutta Nikaya called the Sacca Samyutta, Sacca Samyutta, or the Mahavagga. So you could go to any of these and then read up for more information, because within this little short time, it's difficult to, give a detailed explanation of the topic, and it's a very, very deep topic. Okay, now shall we sit down to meditate? Sit properly. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Right. May the Buddha guide my thoughts and actions throughout the day. May the Buddha guide my thoughts and actions throughout the day. May the Dhamma help me to be strong in moments of weakness, brave in times of trouble, and calm in the face of changing fortunes. May the Dhamma help me to be strong in moments of weakness, brave in times of trouble, and calm in the face of changing fortunes. May the Sangha inspire me to act with kindness, patience, and forgiveness in my dealings with others, including those who are unfriendly to me. May the Sangha inspire me to act with kindness, patience, and forgiveness in my dealings with others, including those who are unfriendly to me. May the devas or deities protect me and my family. May the devas or deities protect me and my family. May this country and the whole world be blessed with peace and prosperity. May this country and the whole world be blessed with peace and prosperity. May I have the opportunity today to help someone in need of my love and support. May I have the opportunity today to help someone in need of my love and support. May the Buddha be at my head, the Dhamma in my heart, and the Sangha at my side to protect and guide me always. May the Buddha be at my head, the Dhamma in my heart, and the Sangha at my side to protect and guide me always. May all living beings, including my enemies, find peace. May all living beings, including my enemies, find peace. Namo Buddhaya.